My friends, have you ever noticed how easily we lose our calm over the smallest things? A late message, a traffic jam, someone's harsh tone, and suddenly our peace vanishes like mist in the morning sun. We live in an age where the world moves fast, but our minds, they race even faster. We are replying before we understand, reacting before we reflect, and regretting before we rest. But tell me honestly, what do we really gain when we lose our calm? Do we solve the problem faster? Or do we simply add one more problem ourselves? Once someone asked me, how do I remain calm when everything around me is falling apart? I smiled and said, learn to build peace inside you, not around you. Because the truth is, storms will come. But peace is not found in the absence of the storm. It is found in the presence of inner stillness. So today, let's reflect together, not just how to look calm, but how to be calm, how to remain peaceful, centered, and unshakable in every situation. You can't control how others act, but you can always choose how you respond. Calmness is not a coincidence that visits you when life becomes easier. It's a decision you make in the middle of difficulty. Every single day, we are presented with countless moments that test our patience. A rude comment from a colleague, an unexpected delay, a disagreement at home. But if we look deeply, we'll see that these moments are not obstacles. They are silent invitations from life, asking us, will you react or will you rise? Think about it. When someone cuts you off in traffic, your first impulse might be to honk, shout, or express frustration. But what really happens after that? The other person drives away, and you're left with a heart that's still burning, thoughts still racing. The event ends, but the reaction continues within you. That's where calmness becomes your greatest victory. Because calmness doesn't mean you are unaffected, it means you are deeply aware. You know your peace is too precious to be handed over to someone else's behavior. There's a beautiful thing that happens when we pause before we react. That small space, that one breath, that 1 second is where wisdom lives. Most of our regrets come from moments when we spoke too soon, acted too fast, or let emotions lead us. But the moment we pause, something divine enters, clarity. It's almost as if the universe whispers, you don't have to fight every battle. Some can be won through silence. I once met a man who told me, I used to lose my temper at everything, my children, my co-workers, even my dog. But then I realized every time I lost my calm, I was not punishing them, I was punishing myself. My anger hurt me more than it ever changed them. He said, no, when I feel that heat rising, I take a breath and remind myself, my peace is my power. What a powerful realization that is. When you are calm, you're not weak. You're wise enough to protect your energy. In our daily lives, situations will come to shake us. Someone might criticize you unfairly. Someone might misunderstand your intentions. The project you worked hard for might not go as planned. But your calmness in those moments doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've learned that peace is more valuable than proving yourself right. You start realizing that calmness gives you clarity, and clarity gives you better choices. When the mind is turbulent, we make poor decisions. When it's peaceful, the right answers come effortlessly. Have you ever noticed that when water is disturbed, it reflects nothing clearly? But when it's still, it mirrors everything perfectly. The mind works the same way. When you are calm, you see reality as it is. You don't exaggerate problems. You don't take things personally. You simply observe, understand, and act wisely. And this is not easy. It's a daily practice. But like any muscle, the more you train your calmness, the stronger it becomes. Sometimes people say, "But how can I stay calm when everything is going wrong?" And I gently remind them, calmness is not about escaping chaos, it's about staying peaceful within it. The storm outside may be loud, but the calm inside you can still be stronger. Imagine sitting in a noisy cafe. There's chatter, clinking of cups, movement everywhere. But if you put on your earphones and play soothing music, suddenly the noise fades. The same is true in life. The noise outside will always exist, but when you tune into your inner peace, you stop being distracted by external chaos. Calmness is not taught in schools. It's learned through experience, reflection, and awareness. It's learned in those moments when you resist the urge to shout back, when you choose to smile instead of argue, when you decide to understand rather than judge. That's when growth begins. And each time you make that choice, you transform. You evolve from reacting to responding, from chaos to clarity, from tension to tranquility. Life's real power is not in controlling others, it's in mastering yourself. And that mastery begins with calmness. Imagine someone insults you. If you react, they control you. But if you stay calm, you control yourself. And in that quiet control, you discover your strength. Because it takes immense courage to stay still when everything around you demands reaction. Calmness is the strength of the spiritually mature, the emotionally wise, and the truly free. Every sunrise gives you another chance to practice it. The traffic jam, the delays, the misunderstandings, they're all teachers in disguise. Life is not asking you to escape them, it's asking you to evolve through them. And one day, you'll notice something beautiful. The things that once disturbed your peace no longer have power over you. You'll smile where you once argued. You'll breathe where you once broke down. You'll walk away where you once tried to win. That is calmness. It is not silence of the tongue. It's silence of the storm inside. It's knowing that peace is not something you find. It's something you build, one breath, one pause, one decision at a time. And when you master that art, you'll realize calmness is not a momentary act. It's a lifelong attitude. It's the gentle strength that whispers, no matter what happens around me, I will not lose the peace within me. Because true victory is not when you conquer the world, it's when you conquer yourself. When emotions are high, intelligence is low. We've all felt it. That rush of heat when something goes wrong, that surge of frustration when someone says something we don't like, that racing heartbeat when life feels unfair. In those moments, we don't think, we react. We say things we don't mean, make decisions we later regret, and often hurt the very people we love. And when the wave of emotion passes, we are left with silence, guilt, and the heavy realization that all it would have taken was a little calm, a small pause, a deep breath. Calm people are not those who never feel angry, hurt, or sad. They are the ones who have learned to sit with their emotions, without letting emotions sit on the driver's seat of their life. They allow themselves to feel, but not to fall. They understand that emotions are like waves. You can't stop them from coming, but you can learn how to surf them. Imagine a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, it remains cloudy, and you can't see through it. But if you let it rest slowly, the dirt settles at the bottom, and the water becomes clear again. The mind works the same way. When emotions are stirred, everything feels blurry. Our words, our thoughts, our judgments. But when we pause, breathe, and allow the moment to settle, clarity returns. That's why wise people wait before reacting. because they know that calmness gives birth to understanding, while impulsiveness gives birth to regret. In daily life, you can see this truth everywhere. Someone gets criticized at work and immediately types an angry email in response, only to delete it the next morning after realizing it wasn't worth it. A parent shouts at their child out of frustration, then later hugs them in tears, feeling sorry. A friend ends a long relationship in a moment of rage, not realizing they were just tired and hurt. When emotions lead, wisdom hides. But when wisdom leads, emotions find their right place. The key is not to suppress emotions, but to understand them. When you feel anger rising, don't rush to speak. Ask yourself, why am I angry? Often, anger is not the first emotion. It's a mask hiding something deeper, like pain, disappointment, or fear. If someone ignores you, your first response may be anger, but beneath it lies the feeling of being unvalued. If you can touch that deeper emotion, you'll find compassion instead of reaction. Understanding your emotions is like turning on a light in a dark room. You start seeing what's really there, not what your mind imagines. Calmness doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to respond wisely. It's not passivity, it's power. It's the strength to say, I will not let this moment define me. I will let my maturity speak louder than my mood. Because anyone can shout, but it takes inner discipline to stay quiet and composed when everything in you wants to explode. Think of a firefighter. When a fire breaks out, he doesn't scream and run in panic, even though the flames are dangerous. He takes a deep breath, studies the situation, and acts with strategy. That's what calmness looks like in emotional fires. You're aware of the heat, but you don't become it. You respond with purpose, not panic. In life, there will always be people who test your peace. Someone who argues unnecessarily, someone who misunderstands you, someone who pushes your buttons just to get a reaction. And if you react every time, you give away your power piece by piece. But when you stay calm, you remain in control. You can't stop people from being who they are, but you can stop yourself from becoming what they make you. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. When you don't respond to provocation, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise enough to protect your peace. People may not understand your silence at first, but your calmness will speak volumes. It will show that your inner world is governed not by impulses, but by awareness. And in that awareness lies your true intelligence. Have you noticed how children throw tantrums when they don't get what they want? As we grow older, we stop throwing toys, but many of us still throw words. The difference between emotional reaction and calm response is maturity. Maturity is not about age, it's about awareness. The awareness that every emotion has a message, but not every emotion deserves a reaction. When something upsets you, don't rush to reply, post, or defend. Step back, go for a walk, breathe. Let your emotions cool down before your words heat up. You'll find that most of what felt urgent before no longer feels important later. Time has a way of filtering what truly matters. In one of my travels, I met a monk who said something unforgettable. Don't speak when you're angry, and don't decide when you're sad. Because both are moments when your emotions are at their highest and your clarity is at its lowest. How simple, yet how profound. Our words can either heal or hurt. Our choices can either build or break. And both depend on the state of mind we're in when we make them. So the next time life provokes you, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that emotions are temporary, but consequences are not. You don't have to control every emotion that arises, but you can control whether you act upon it. The calm response may not feel powerful in the moment, but it will always bring peace in the long run. And that's the secret of wise living. Feeling everything, but being ruled by nothing. Remaining calm is not about being emotionless, it's about being emotionally intelligent. It's about recognizing that you can feel anger without becoming angry, feel pain without becoming bitter, feel fear without becoming weak. Because the calm mind doesn't suppress emotion, it transforms it into understanding, strength, and wisdom. And when you reach that level of self-awareness, you no longer chase peace, you become peace itself. Detachment is not about running away from the world, it's about learning to live in the world without letting it control your peace. People often misunderstand detachment as coldness, as if it means you stop caring. But true detachment is the opposite. It's when you care deeply, but you are not destroyed when things don't go your way. It's when your heart is open enough to love, but wise enough not to cling. It's when you give your best, but you don't let the results define your worth. In life, so many of our sufferings come not from what happens, but from our attachment to how we want things to happen. We hold on tightly to people, plans, outcomes, and expectations, believing that peace lies in control. But the truth is, control is an illusion. The more we try to hold everything in our grasp, the more life slips through our fingers. Detachment teaches us the art of surrender, the gentle acceptance that some things are meant to flow, not to be forced. Think about the lotus flower. It grows beautifully in muddy water, yet it remains untouched by the mud around it. Its petals stay pure, its fragrance divine, its grace unshaken. That's what true detachment looks like. You live among people, you face challenges, you deal with success and failure, but none of it sticks to you. You don't let the mud of circumstances stain the purity of your inner peace. Every day gives us chances to practice this. Imagine you've worked hard for a promotion and someone else gets it. Or you've been kind to someone and they still misunderstand you. The mind instantly reacts, it's unfair. Why me? After everything I did. But detachment whispers a different wisdom. Do your best, but don't expect the world to always agree. Detachment doesn't numb your heart, it frees it. You stop seeing every event as personal and start seeing it as part of a larger plan. Once, a friend told me how she used to check her phone every few minutes, waiting for a particular person to reply. Every time the message didn't come, her peace disappeared. Every notification sound raised her hopes, and every silence hurt her heart. One day she realized something profound. She had given her peace to her phone, to that one message, to that one person's response. That's what attachment does. It makes your peace dependent on things outside of you. Detachment gently takes that power back. It says, I will be happy, not because of how others treat me, but because I choose peace regardless of it. It doesn't mean you stop feeling. You still care, you still love. But your happiness doesn't collapse when something doesn't go your way. You start loving people with freedom instead of fear. You do your duty with sincerity, not anxiety. You give without needing anything in return. That's the beauty of detachment. It transforms your relationships, your work, and your inner world. Think of a kite flying in the sky. It soars high and dances beautifully, but it can only do that when the string is held with balance, not too tight, not too loose. Attachment is when you pull the string too tightly, you suffocate. Indifference is when you let it go completely, you lose connection. Detachment is the perfect balance, holding on with care, but with the wisdom to release when the time comes. We often attach to outcomes because we believe success or love will make us complete. But detachment teaches that you are already whole even before life gives you anything. The external world can add joy to your life, but it should never become the reason for your peace. When you realize that no failure can break you and no success can make you arrogant, you remain stable, humble in victory, graceful in defeat. The greatest example of detachment can be seen in nature. The sun shines without expectation. The river flows without asking where it's going. The tree gives shade without demanding gratitude. Everything in nature gives, grows, and lets go. The flowers bloom, spread their fragrance, and when the time comes, they fall silently. They don't cling to their petals. That's the kind of calm acceptance detachment brings, the ability to let life move naturally without resistance. Detachment doesn't mean you stop trying. You still put in effort, but your energy is pure because it's not tied to fear or desperation. When you act with detachment, your actions become powerful, peaceful, and full of grace. You don't burn yourself out chasing validation. You don't get crushed when things fall apart. You simply understand that everything has its rhythm, and your job is to stay centered amidst the changes. There will always be moments when life tests your detachment, when someone leaves, when plans fail, when uncertainty clouds your path. But those moments are not punishments, they are invitations to rise higher. They are lessons reminding you that your peace should not be borrowed from temporary things. When you master detachment, you begin to experience a quiet strength inside. You stop overreacting. You start observing. You no longer beg life to be a certain way. You trust that every twist and turn is shaping you. And in that trust, peace becomes your natural state. So live fully, love deeply, give freely, but always remember to hold lightly, because nothing truly belongs to us. We are merely travelers passing through this beautiful journey. People, moments, achievements, they all come and go. But the one thing that remains constant is your inner connection with the divine, with your soul, with peace itself. When you understand that truth, you stop chasing and start flowing. You stop clinging and start living. And then, even in the middle of chaos, you remain as serene as the lotus, surrounded by mud, yet untouched by it. That's the power of true detachment, to be in the world, but not of it. Everyone acts from their own level of consciousness. When someone speaks harshly, behaves unfairly, or misunderstands you, it's not always about you, it's about what's happening inside them. We often take people's actions personally, carrying their negativity in our hearts like an unwanted burden. But calmness begins when you stop reacting to others' behavior and start seeing it as a reflection of their inner world, not yours. This realization changes everything. It replaces irritation with empathy and judgment with understanding. Imagine a mirror. When you stand before it, it simply reflects what's in front of it. If you smile, the reflection smiles back. If you frown, it frowns too. The mirror doesn't decide what to show, it only responds. In the same way, people's words and actions often reflect the state of their mind. A peaceful person will speak peace. A restless person will spread restlessness. Once you understand this, you stop expecting everyone to act from your level of calmness or maturity. You begin to see that their behavior is their reflection, not a definition of your worth. Think about how often we let someone else's mood spoil our day. A co-worker snaps at you, and you carry that energy home. A stranger in traffic shouts, and your peace is gone for hours. But what if we paused and asked ourselves, What must this person be going through to behave this way? Suddenly, instead of reacting, you start understanding. Maybe that co-worker is stressed about a deadline. Maybe that stranger just received bad news. When you see beyond their behavior, compassion awakens. And compassion is the highest form of intelligence. There's a story about a young man who went to a wise monk, angry at his boss who constantly insulted him. The monk gave him a glass of water and added a spoonful of salt. "Drink this," he said. The man sipped and frowned. "It's bitter." The monk then led him to a nearby lake, poured in the same spoonful of salt, and said, "Now drink." The man drank, smiled, and said, "It tastes fresh." The monk said, "The amount of salt is the same, but the bitterness depends on the size of your vessel. Be like the lake, not the glass." That's what understanding others' consciousness does. It expands your heart so much that no bitterness can disturb it. When people hurt you, they are not always being evil, they are often acting out of pain. When people lie, it's because they fear truth. When people insult, it's because they feel insecure. Everyone is fighting an inner battle you cannot see. The calm person doesn't ignore the behavior, but chooses not to internalize it. They understand that if someone throws mud, it doesn't mean you have to wear it. I once saw a mother patiently calm her screaming child in a supermarket. Others stared, some judged, but she stayed peaceful. Later, when asked how she didn't lose her temper, she smiled and said, "If I shout too, there will be 2 children crying." That answer stayed with me. When you understand that others act from their level of awareness, you no longer react from yours. You rise above it. You become the adult in the room, not because of age, but because of understanding. In relationships, this wisdom is gold. So often, conflicts happen not because one is right and the other is wrong, but because both are seeing life through different lenses. Your calmness allows you to see that the argument isn't about who wins, it's about who understands first. Sometimes peace doesn't mean you have to prove your point. It means you care more about the relationship than your ego. Understanding saves what pride destroys. When you live with this awareness, you also stop expecting perfection from others. You realize that everyone is on their own journey of growth. Some are learning patience, some are learning humility, some are learning honesty, and sometimes their lessons come at the cost of your peace. But instead of being bitter, you can choose to be wiser. You can silently bless them, knowing that one day they'll understand what you already see. In daily life, this can transform everything. When a waiter forgets your order, instead of getting angry, you smile. Maybe he's exhausted after a long shift. When your friend cancels plans, you don't take it personally. Maybe they needed rest. When your partner says something harsh, you pause. Maybe they're struggling inside. You stop reacting to the surface and start feeling the depth. You realize that kindness costs nothing, yet it heals everything. It's like being in a storm. When wind blows dust in your eyes, you don't hate the wind. You close your eyes and wait for it to pass. People's harshness is like that dust. It doesn't define the wind, it's just a momentary disturbance. When it passes, you open your eyes again and continue your journey. Calmness grows every time you choose to understand rather than judge. It grows every time you respond with patience instead of pride. It grows every time you remind yourself, this person's behavior is about them, not me. That one line can save you from endless suffering. The world will always have people of different energies. Some radiate peace, others project pain. Your job is not to change them, but to maintain your own vibration. When you do that, something magical happens. Your calm energy starts influencing others. Your silence becomes healing. Your presence becomes comforting. You don't have to preach peace, you become it. And one day, when someone else reacts harshly toward you, instead of getting upset, you'll find yourself smiling softly. Because you'll know this is just a reflection of where they are, and I don't have to join them there. You'll understand that staying calm is not about being superior. It's about being self-aware. It's about refusing to let someone else's storm drown your sunshine. That is the silent strength of understanding. It turns conflicts into lessons, enemies into teachers, and pain into wisdom. It frees you from the endless tug of war of reactions and allows you to live lightly, with compassion in your heart, clarity in your mind, and peace in your soul. Most people think stress comes from the outside world, from work, traffic, people, and deadlines. But the truth is, most stress is born from the inside. It is not the situation that makes us restless, it's how fast our mind is running within that situation. We rush not only in our actions, but also in our thoughts. The body may be sitting still, but the mind is racing through past regrets, future fears, and imagined problems. When the mind becomes a highway of overthinking, peace becomes impossible. That is why slowing down your inner speed is one of the greatest secrets of calm living. We have all experienced this. You're lying in bed, the lights are off, and the world is quiet. Yet your thoughts are louder than ever. You replay conversations, worry about tomorrow, and analyze what could go wrong. The mind keeps talking even when the world has stopped. But have you ever noticed how, when you finally stop forcing thoughts and just take a deep breath, everything begins to settle? That is the miracle of slowing down your inner world. Calmness is not found by escaping movement, it's found by slowing your mind amidst movement. Our generation is constantly connected, but deeply disconnected from ourselves. We scroll endlessly, multitask between conversations, chase goals without rest, and call it productivity. But true productivity doesn't come from constant action, it comes from focused peace. You can do 100 things in a hurry and achieve little, or you can do one thing with calm awareness and create excellence. The greatest achievers in any field are not the fastest movers, but the calmest minds. They think clearly, act deliberately, and rest deeply. Their power comes not from speed, but from stillness. Think of a car speeding down a road. When it moves too fast, the scenery becomes a blur. The driver can't see the beauty around, can't enjoy the journey, only the rush of getting there. Life is like that. When we rush through our days, we miss the small joys. A smile from a loved one, the warmth of morning sunlight, the sweetness of food, the peace of silence. We live, but we don't feel alive. But when you slow down, time seems to expand. You begin to see life's details, its textures, its hidden gifts. You start living with awareness instead of autopilot. There's an old story about a woodcutter who worked tirelessly every day but produced less and less wood. Frustrated, he complained that his axe was too old. His friend asked, "When was the last time you stopped to sharpen it?" The woodcutter replied, "I can't stop. I'm too busy cutting trees." That's exactly how many of us live. So busy reacting to life that we forget to pause, reflect, and recharge. Slowing down doesn't mean losing time, it means sharpening your mind. When your thoughts are calm and steady, your actions become powerful and precise. You can practice this in small ways. When the mind runs fast, walk slower. When you feel anxious, speak slower. When your heart feels heavy, breathe slower. Slowing down your physical pace automatically slows your inner pace. It sends a message to your mind: you are safe. You don't have to rush. And when the mind feels safe, it stops fighting and starts flowing. Try it next time you're angry. Take a deep breath and count slowly before replying. You'll notice how differently you respond. That one moment of pause can save you from hours of regret. In today's world, people glorify business as if being constantly occupied is a badge of honor. But business without balance leads to burnout. The calm mind knows that rest is not laziness, it's wisdom. Even the heart rests between beats. Even the ocean pauses between waves. Nature itself moves in rhythm, not rush. Why then do we think we must hurry through everything? The universe is never in a hurry, yet everything gets done at the right time. I once met a man who had achieved great success, but confessed he felt empty. He said, "I've spent my whole life climbing the ladder, but I never stopped to see if it was leaning on the right wall." That's what happens when we live too fast. We chase goals without knowing why. We move without meaning. But when you slow down, you begin to listen to your heart, to your intuition, to the quiet guidance of the divine. You start understanding that not every delay is a punishment, sometimes it's protection. Not every pause is a waste, sometimes it's preparation. Slow living is not about doing less, it's about doing what matters most with full presence. When you eat, taste the food. When you talk, listen deeply. When you rest, truly rest. Life is not measured by how much you do, but by how deeply you experience what you do. A calm person may achieve less in quantity, but far more in quality. Because every act comes from a place of centeredness. If you watch a skilled musician, you'll notice they don't rush their notes, they let the silence between them speak. That's what gives the music its beauty. Life too is like a song. It's not just the actions that matter, but the pauses in between. When you learn to honor the pauses, life starts to sound harmonious again. There will always be things you can't control, deadlines, people, outcomes, but you can always control the speed of your inner world. When you slow down inside, even a busy day feels peaceful. You walk into chaos with grace. You handle pressure with presence. You begin to feel like the calm eye in the middle of a storm, untouched by the winds around you. So, slow down, breathe, let go of the race for a moment. The world will not fall apart if you rest, but your mind might fall apart if you don't. The beauty of slowing down is that it doesn't just bring peace, it brings clarity, purpose, and joy back into your life. When your inner world is calm, you see life not as a blur, but as a blessing. And that's when you truly begin to live, not rushing through moments, but dwelling in their meaning, one peaceful breath at a time. Sometimes in life, we spend so much time trying to fix what's outside that we forget to heal what's inside. We chase people's approval, fight for control, and run after situations we can't change. And in that struggle, we lose our inner peace. Real peace doesn't come from getting everything right on the outside. It comes from learning how to stay steady on the inside even when everything is wrong. You can't always calm the storm around you, but you can calm the storm within you. That's what true strength looks like, not in how loudly you react, but in how quietly you respond. Imagine you're driving through heavy rain. The road is slippery, visibility is poor, and every car around you seems impatient. If you try to speed up, you'll lose control. But if you slow down, keep your hands steady, and stay focused, you'll get through safely. Life works the same way. When emotions pour like rain and circumstances feel blurry, slowing down your reactions is your protection. When you choose calm over chaos, patience over panic, faith over fear, you win battles others don't even see. That's the secret strength of people who look peaceful but carry storms inside their silence. Every day, life will test your calmness. You'll meet people who misunderstand you, situations that frustrate you, and moments that shake you. But those moments are not meant to break you, they're meant to train you. The calm person is not someone who never feels anger or sadness. They're someone who feels it deeply but doesn't let it control their decisions. Think about it: when you're angry, you speak words you later regret. When you're anxious, you make choices from fear. But when you pause, when you take a deep breath before reacting, you take back your power. You begin to master yourself instead of being mastered by your emotions. I once met a woman who worked in a chaotic hospital. Every day she dealt with emergencies, crying patients, and shouting attendants. Yet she always smiled. Curious, I asked her how she stayed so calm. She said, "I don't let their chaos enter my mind. I tell myself, if I lose my calm, I lose my ability to help." Those words stayed with me. It reminded me that calmness is not a luxury, it's a necessity for clear thinking and wise action. You cannot pour peace into others if your own cup is shaking. The calmest people are often the ones who carry the heaviest responsibilities because they know peace is power. Sometimes, calmness is misunderstood as weakness. People may think you're passive because you don't react loudly. But silence is not surrender. Calmness is a decision that says, I will not let negativity pull me down. It's not about avoiding confrontation. It's about choosing inner dignity over outer drama. A calm person doesn't need to prove who they are, because they already know. When someone insults them, they understand the insult reveals more about the other person's pain than their own worth. When life doesn't go as planned, they remind themselves, delays are not denials, they're divine timing. Calmness allows you to see beyond the surface, beyond emotions, into the deeper wisdom of life. We can all practice calmness in daily life. When traffic jams test your patience, instead of honking, play your favorite song and remind yourself that reaching safely is more important than reaching first. When someone interrupts or disrespects you, pause before responding. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Most of the time, the answer is no. When your plans fail, take a quiet walk and remember that life's rejections often redirect you to something better. Calmness doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means facing them with a steady heart and a clear mind. A tree stands tall through storms not because it resists the wind, but because its roots go deep. In the same way, the calmer you become, the deeper your roots of faith grow. You stop reacting to everything around you and start responding from within you. You realize that peace is not something you find after everything is perfect. It's something you create while everything is imperfect. The calm person understands that life's timing, though mysterious, is never mistaken. When things fall apart, they don't say, "Why me?" They say, "What is this trying to teach me?" And in that shift of thought, they transform pain into wisdom. In our world today, people are constantly reacting to news, to messages, to opinions, to comparisons. But reaction drains energy, reflection restores it. Calmness gives you the strength to pause, to breathe, and to choose your next step consciously. The one who stays calm stays connected to their purpose, to their peace, and to the divine presence that quietly whispers, "Be still and trust the process." When you live from that stillness, You no longer need life to be easy to be happy. You find joy not in what's happening, but in how you are within what's happening. So, start today, not by controlling the world, but by calming your world within. Every time you choose peace over panic, patience over pressure, love over anger, you grow stronger. Calmness is not just a mood, it's a message to the universe that you are ready to rise above. And when you master that, no noise outside can disturb the music inside you. The world may be loud, but your peace can still be louder if you let it. There is a quiet kind of strength that lives in the heart of acceptance. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, but it is deeply peaceful. Acceptance doesn't mean you like what happened or that you agree with it. It simply means you've stopped fighting reality. You've stopped exhausting yourself trying to change what cannot be changed. When you accept something, you stop being a victim of it. You rise above it. You take back your energy, your focus, and your calm. Because peace doesn't come from control. Peace comes from surrendering to what is and trusting that what's meant for you will always find you. Think about how much energy we lose every single day resisting things that already are. We replay conversations in our minds, wishing we had said something different. We hold on to mistakes, hoping we could turn back time. We try to fix people who are not ready to change, and we feel disappointed when they don't. But life is not meant to be forced, it's meant to be flowed with. Just as a river doesn't argue with the rocks in its path, it simply moves around them and keeps flowing. We too must learn to flow with life, not fight it. The moment you stop resisting, you start healing. There's a story of a man who planted a small tree in his garden. Every morning he would water it, protect it, and wait for it to grow. But after some time, he grew impatient. He began pulling its tiny branches, thinking it would grow faster. In his impatience, he broke it. In the same way, when we can't accept the timing of our lives, we damage what is still growing. Acceptance is trusting the process, even when you don't see progress. It is understanding that sometimes the universe is preparing you quietly, teaching you lessons you'll only understand later. In daily life, we face countless moments that test our acceptance. When a relationship ends, when a job doesn't work out, when people misunderstand us, the first reaction of the mind is to resist. Why me? Why now? Why this? But the heart that is rooted in faith whispers, there must be a reason. Acceptance begins when we stop asking, why? And start saying, what now? Because every ending has a lesson, and every delay hides a divine protection. Maybe that job didn't work out because you were meant for something greater. Maybe that person left because their chapter in your story was complete. Maybe that delay saved you from a disaster you can't yet see. When you begin to see life through the eyes of trust, even the painful moments start to make sense. I remember once missing a very important opportunity. I was disappointed, even angry. I thought I had lost something big. But months later, a much better door opened. One that matched my purpose far more beautifully than the first one ever could. That experience taught me that life's rejections are not punishments, they are redirections. Sometimes, the delay is the divine's way of saying, you deserve more than what you're asking for. But to receive that more, you have to let go of what's not meant to be. Acceptance is that bridge between what you wanted and what's waiting for you. In relationships, acceptance is even more powerful. People often say, I wish they would change. But peace begins when you accept that you can't change anyone. You can only inspire change by being calm, patient, and understanding. When you stop expecting others to behave according to your script, you free both them and yourself. You begin to see people not as you wish they were, but as they are, and that brings compassion. You may not agree with them, but you stop arguing with reality. That quiet surrender gives you the freedom to choose peace over control. Acceptance also means forgiving yourself. So many of us carry guilt for past mistakes, things we said, decisions we made, paths we took. But guilt doesn't change the past, it only steals your present. Acceptance means saying, I did the best I could with what I knew then. Growth means you see things differently now, and that's okay. Be kind to yourself. Every person you meet is fighting a battle within, and so are you. The journey of life isn't about being perfect. It's about learning, evolving, and loving yourself through every stage. Look at nature. The trees don't resist the seasons. When autumn comes, they don't hold on to their leaves in fear of winter. They let go gracefully, knowing that spring will return. That's acceptance. To trust that even when things fall apart, something beautiful will bloom again. The same God that painted your sunrise will also light up your darkness in time. Your role is to stay patient, stay grateful, and stay open. When you live with acceptance, you live with peace. You stop reacting to every small change because your heart knows life has its rhythm. You begin to enjoy the moment you're in, instead of worrying about the one you can't control. You understand that calmness is not about making everything perfect, but about making peace with imperfection. You stop asking life to be easier and instead ask yourself to be stronger. So, the next time you find yourself in a situation you can't change, don't let resistance consume you. Breathe, pause, and remind yourself, this is temporary and it's teaching me something valuable. The energy you save from fighting what you can't control can be used to grow, to heal, and to love deeper. Acceptance is not giving up, it's growing up. It's the wisdom that says, I trust the timing even when I don't understand it. And when you live with that kind of faith, nothing can disturb your peace. Because you know that in the grand design of life, even the detours are part of the destination. Understanding is one of the most underrated powers a human being can possess. We live in a world that is quick to judge, quick to label, and even quicker to react, yet very few pause to understand. When you begin to understand instead of judging, something magical happens. Your heart expands, your reactions soften, and your peace deepens. Because you see, judgment separates, but understanding connects. The moment you understand someone's pain, you stop being angry at their behavior. You start seeing beyond the surface, beyond the mask, into the wound that caused the behavior in the first place. That's where compassion is born and where calmness begins to flow. Many times, we react to people's words or actions without realizing the story behind them. You might meet someone rude in the morning and carry their negativity all day, thinking, why are people so harsh? But what if you knew that the same person just lost their job, or received bad news, or is fighting an invisible battle you can't see? The truth is, everyone you meet is fighting something you know nothing about. When you start to see that, your heart naturally becomes gentler. You stop taking everything personally. You begin to respond, not react. Understanding transforms your entire emotional landscape because it shifts your focus from what they did to me to what they might be going through. I once met a man who was always calm, no matter how difficult the situation. When I asked him how he managed that, he said, because I've learned that every angry person is a hurting person in disguise. That line stayed with me forever. It reminded me that those who hurt others are often the ones hurting the most. A harsh word usually hides an insecure heart. A rude behavior often covers deep fear.